Well, this is another lesson brought to you by MATHguide.com. Today we're going to take a look at the addition method. And the addition method is a technique for solving systems of equations, specifically linear equations. We're going to take a look at an example right now. Let's say we have a system of equations. This is going to be two linear equations, two unknowns. So let's see, we got 3x plus 2y equals 1. We've got 5x minus 2y equals negative 9. All right, so we can see that we have two equations. Obviously, anything with an equal sign is an equation. So we have an equation there. We got an equation here. It has two unknowns. There's an x and y in each one of these equations. There's no squares, absolute values, or any weird stuff going on. So these are two lines. In other words, if we were to graph these in a coordinate plane, these two lines, if they were to intersect, in other words, if they were to cross each other, they would meet at a point. What we're trying to do is figure out where these two lines meet. So that's the graphical image. Where do they meet? Well, algebraically, we could solve for that location, that ordered pair, by using this technique called the addition method. Now, this problem is kind of unique because if we add these two equations, you're going to notice that the positive 2 and the negative 2, see these coefficients here in front of the y values, they're going to cancel when we add them. So the result is that these two y terms are going to cancel, and we're going to be left with an equation that has just one letter in it, namely x. All right, so let's say we add these 3x plus 5x. We're going to get 8x. Okay, if we get 8x, let me just write that a little bit neater. We've got 8x. And over here, when we add 1 and negative 9, we're going to get negative 8. All right, so we could see here that we've got an equation, and our equation has one letter in it. So now it's easy to solve this. We're just going to use simple algebraic techniques. For instance, we're going to divide both sides by 8 because we're multiplying the x value by 8. So we're basically undoing what we have there. So the result is that we're going to get x equals negative 1. All right, so we used a technique called the addition method, and it allowed us to get one of our values, which is x. This problem isn't solved until we get an x and a y value. All right, so right now we could feel pretty good because we do have our y value. Our y value is negative 1. That's the value we just got over here. All right, so we're charged then with finding the y value, our corresponding y value. All right, so in order to get that, we're going to have to go back to one of these two original equations, and we're going to substitute this x value, negative 1, inside of it. Now, at this point, you have a choice. Our choice is to either choose the top equation or the bottom. It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose the top equation because it looks like the top equation has less negatives. You'll notice here that we got this negative over here, and we've got a negative over here. I like to choose an equation that has less complication, less negatives. So that's the one I'm going to choose. So I'm going to rewrite that equation. 3x plus 2y equals 1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that answer that we had received over here, right, this negative 1, and I'm going to place that in for x right here. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and substitute that value. So in other words, I'm going to rewrite this equation. You notice that I didn't put in an x value. So I'm now going to put in that x value of negative 1, and I'm going to clean up that equation, and then you'll see that now that we don't have an x value and our only variable is y, we'll be able to solve this for y. So the order of operations would say we'd multiply those. I get negative 3 when I multiply 3 times negative 1. And now we have a very simple equation. This is going to be a two-step equation because we got one letter left in there. So the opposite of negative 3, right? The opposite of adding negative 3 would be to add positive 3. If we add it to the left side, well, we have to add it to the right side of that equation. All right, in doing so, you'll see that the negative 3 and the 3 cancel. We're left with 2y on the left side. 3 plus 1 is 4. All right, so we got 2y equals 4. Our last step, since we're multiplying y by 2, we'll divide by 2. Whatever we do the left side, we do the right side to balance out that equation. All right, you'll notice here that y is going to be left alone, so we'll have y equals 2. All right, so it looks like we have now our solution. We have our y value of 2 to complete it all out. All right, so this process, called the addition method, allowed us to add the two equations, get a variable, one of our variables solved, plugging it in, substituting it in. We get our second variable solved, so now we know y is 2, and now we're done. So here's our solution. There's the solution to our problem, negative 1, 2. So those two lines cross at negative 1, 2. All right, that's it. And make sure you visit MATHguide.com for more interactive videos and more interactive quizzes. All right, thanks very much. Have a great day.